The blizzard had come without warning, as they always did on Kier 7. Sergeant Nara Vale watched the temperature gauge on her wrist display plummet to -42°C, then -45. Her emergency shelter beacon had died 3 hours ago, lost somewhere in the snow when she'd tumbled down that ravine. The main expedition wouldn't even know she was missing until morning. She'd found a shallow cave, nothing more than an indentation in the ice cliff, but it kept the worst of the wind away. Her thermal suit was military grade, designed to keep a human alive in extreme conditions, but it had its limits. Already she could feel the cold creeping through the damaged left sleeve where the fabric had torn. Nara pulled out her emergency pack and began the familiar ritual. The portable heat generator was the size of her palm, but it would burn for hours. She set it on the cave floor and activated it. A small, steady flame appeared, artificial, sustained by chemical reaction, but flame nonetheless. The orange glow pushed back the blue-white darkness of the ice world. She didn't notice the eyes watching her from the shadows. Two shapes emerged, slowly, cautiously. They were small, no larger than earth wolves, with thick white fur and 6 legs that moved in an unsettling ripple. Their eyes reflected the firelight like mirrors, vertical pupils, predator's eyes. Nara's hand moved to her sidearm, then stopped. They were young, very young. She could see it in the way they moved, uncertain and curious rather than aggressive. Cubs, she realized. Lost in the storm just like her. The larger of the two made a sound, something between a chirp and a growl. It took a tentative step forward, and Nara could see it shivering. The smaller one followed, pressing against its sibling for warmth. "You're cold too, aren't you?" Nara said softly. The cubs didn't understand her words, but they understood the tone. The larger one, Nara found herself thinking of it as Tern, though she had no idea why, took another step closer. The smaller Voss hung back. Nara did something that command would have called reckless. She moved aside, making room near the heat generator. She patted the ground beside her. Tern's ears swiveled forward. The cub approached slowly, then settled down near the warmth, careful to keep a meter between itself and the strange alien creature. Voss followed moments later, pressing against Tern's side. They sat like that for nearly an hour, the human and the 2 predator cubs, sharing warmth in the frozen darkness. Nara pulled out one of her ration bars and took a bite. The cubs watched intently. She broke off a piece and tossed it toward them. Tern sniffed it cautiously, then ate it in one gulp. Voss did the same with the next piece. It probably wasn't good for their biology. But Nara reasoned that calories were calories when you were freezing to death. Eventually, exhaustion claimed her. Nara leaned back against the ice wall, her hand resting on the sidearm more out of habit than fear. The cubs had curled up near the heat generator, their breathing slow and steady. The storm howled outside, but inside the small cave there was warmth. There was life. When Nara woke, the cubs were gone. The storm had passed. Pale sunlight filtered through the cave opening, painting everything in shades of silver and blue. The heat generator had burned out during the night, but Nara's suit had recharged enough to keep her alive. She activated her emergency beacon and started the trek back toward base camp. She'd gone maybe half a kilometer when she heard the sound behind her. Tern and Voss emerged from behind an ice formation, dragging something between them. It took Nara a moment to process what she was seeing. A creature freshly killed, its purple blood still steaming in the cold air. Some kind of ice grazer, she guessed, herbivore stock. The cubs dropped it at her feet and stepped back, watching her with those mirror-bright eyes. "You brought me food," Nara whispered. Tern chirped. Voss mimicked the sound. Nara knelt down and examined the kill. It was fresh, clean. They'd hunted this for her. She looked up at the cubs, these young predators who should have seen her as either threat or prey, and felt something twist in her chest. "Thank you," she said, knowing they couldn't understand but needing to say it anyway. She took a sample for the xenobiology team. They'd be fascinated, and left the rest for the cubs. They deserved it more than she did, but Tern and Voss didn't touch it. They watched her walk away, and when she looked back, they were following at a distance. This pattern continued for 3 more days. Every morning, Nara would wake to find fresh kills outside her temporary shelter. The cubs never came too close during daylight, but she could always spot them watching from the ridgelines. At night, when she made her small fire, they would creep closer, drawn to the warmth. On the 4th day, the rescue team found her. "Sergeant Vale," Lieutenant Chen called out, relief evident in his voice. We've been searching for what in God's name are those? Tern and Voss had frozen at the sound of the approaching shuttle, their fur bristling. Nara held up a hand. They're friends, she said simply. The xenobiologist, Dr. Okafor, pushed forward with her scanner. Sergeant, those are juvenile Kyrian apex predators. They're incredibly dangerous, even as cubs. Their parents are probably dead, Nara interrupted. I think the storm killed the rest of their pack. They found me 5 nights ago. We shared warmth. They've been bringing me food ever since. Chen stared at her. They've been feeding you? Trying to, Nara confirmed. She looked back at the cubs who had begun to retreat toward the ice formations. I shared my fire with them. They shared their hunt with me. Fair trade. Dr. Okafor was already making notes, her scanner humming. This is unprecedented. Kyrian predators don't form bonds with other species. They barely tolerate each other outside of mating season. The fact that they associated your fire with safety with pack behavior. Humans have been making friends around campfires for thousands of years, Nara said quietly. I guess some things are universal. As the shuttle lifted off, Nara looked down through the viewport. 2 small white shapes sat on the ice ridge, watching the ship climb into the gray sky. She pressed her hand against the glass. Goodbye. Tern, goodbye, Voss, she whispered. 3 months later, when the expedition established a permanent research station on Kier 7, a strange thing began happening. Kyrian predators, normally aggressive toward human presence, would occasionally leave kills near the perimeter, not attacks, gifts. The xenobiology team was baffled, but Sergeant Nara Vale understood. She'd go out sometimes at night and build a small fire just beyond the station walls, and sometimes, if she was very quiet and very patient, she would see the reflection of mirror-bright eyes in the darkness, watching the flame. Fire was a human thing, the other species said, a human discovery, a human gift to the universe. But Nara knew better. Fire wasn't about the heat or the light. Fire was about what happened when you shared it. It was about the space around the flame where cold things came to warm themselves, where strangers became companions, where fear turned to trust. That was the human gift. Not the fire itself, but the willingness to share it, even with predators in the dark.